Can some, okay, I just wanted to make sure. All right, so gotta move this guy. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about the amendments to the Constitution. The amendments to the Constitution give us our rights as U.S. citizens, so they're pretty important. What is this? All right, this is just a review of homework due for this week. So yesterday or Monday, there was like an outline thing with the structures and principles of the Constitution. I think almost everyone in this chat right now has turned that in, but if you haven't, it's something I want you to fill out and then keep, because it's stuff that we'll be referring back to the whole trimester. There was a quiz yesterday in Schoology. Only one of you has taken it. So if you could go and take that quiz, that would be great.
I took mine today.
Okay, cool. And then today I have a flip grid, and Thursday there's an ed puzzle. So the flip grid today is going to be to just tell me what you think is the most important amendment and why. Like, what's your reasoning behind it? So I did a little quick explanation of that, and I have, mine was like a minute long. So it doesn't have to be long. There's no right or wrong answers. It's just your opinion. Which amendment do you think is most important and why? And then tomorrow there's a little ed puzzle. It's like a 5-minute video. So we'll get going. Everything is linked except for the Schoology quiz right here in this slideshow. So if you want to bring up the slideshow for today, I mean, that's a good place to link it. And at the end of the class, I might go through just and make sure that everybody's finding things that they need. Okay. So when we're looking at this this section of the chapter, why and how has the U.S. Constitution been amended and interpreted throughout our history? So the U.S. Constitution has been the law of the land for more than 225 years. In that time, only 27 amendments or changes have been made to it. So we're just gonna talk about the following questions. So I want you guys to pop in and just share your thoughts. So in over 200 years, we've only changed the Constitution 27 times. And those changes, there's a couple different things that have changed. There's been additions to, when you think about voting, there's been a lot of amendments about voting. The first came when we gave citizenships to all people born in America, no matter race, creed, those kinds of things. And then we gave all men the right to vote. And then we give all women the right to vote after that, 1920. And then the last change came after the Vietnam War, when we gave 18-year-olds the right to vote, because people that were 18 were going and fighting and dying in wars, and they didn't even have the right to vote. So in your opinion, what makes the Constitution relevant today? So why is it still relevant, even though the document is 2 centuries old?
It's the basis of all of our laws that exist today.
Yeah, absolutely. And anytime a law is made, the constitutionality of that law is checked. So that's just something to understand, that even if Congress passes a law and our president signs it into law, our Supreme Court can come and say, that's not constitutional, so that law isn't going to exist. The second question, does the fact that the Constitution can be amended make it well suited for changes in our economy, society, history, culture, and government? What do you guys think?
Can you repeat that?
Yeah, it's just it's B on the screen. Does the fact that the Constitution can be amended or changed make it well suited for changes in our economy, society, history, culture, and government?
I think, ideally, yes, but I don't think that it's really that easy to be changed.
It's not.
In a perfect world, yeah, but it's not a perfect world, so.
Right. That's a good answer. And we're going to talk about how it can be changed, because you're right. The next question kind of hits that. Does the fact that the Constitution has been amended only 27 times imply that it was nearly perfect at the start?
No, because it didn't give a lot of people rights that they deserve.
Absolutely. But fortunately, our forefathers and our government along the way has realized that they've made some mistakes. And some of the changes have been made purely because things came up that were not anticipated when the Constitution was first written. So, okay. Before we even get started, just know you're not going to have to memorize 27 amendments, but we will go through them today so you have a basic idea of what they are. And I think it is important that you can, in general life conversation, if somebody brings up something, know that that was something in our Constitution. So the Constitution is a hard thing to change because it is this founding document. And I think that was on purpose. Nobody wanted to be able to change the Constitution easily because if you were able to do that, it wouldn't hold as much weight. So the first thing that happens is that amendments may be proposed by a 2/3 vote in the House and Senate, or for 2/3 of states asking for a convention. So in order for our Congress to even consider an amendment, 2/3 of the senators and 2/3 of the House of Representatives must agree that this could be an amendment. Once it gets through that process, which is a lengthy process, and once the vote is taken and 2/3 of all senators and 2/3 of all representatives agree that this should be an amendment, the next thing that happens is it goes to the states. So it goes to all 50 states, and 3/4 of the states in the nation also have to ratify it or pass it into law. So this is something, when you're looking at a constitutional amendment, it's not like a law. When we talk about laws, it only has to go through our federal government. It goes through the House and the Senate and then to the president. Amendments have to go to start there, and then they have to go to every single state in the nation, and 38 states have to agree that this should be a law. Congress can set a time limit within which ratification must be completed, and I'll talk about why in just a few minutes. And there have been over 11,000 proposed amendments throughout history, but only 27 have been ratified. So it's a pretty tough process to get through. This is just a continuation. So, and then we'll get to some other more interactive stuff in just a minute. While amending the Constitution is the only way to change it, the interpretation of its meaning has changed over time. So I talked a little bit about this yesterday. When the Constitution was written, there were no semi-automatic rifles. There was no internet. There were no telephones. A lot of the things that exist today didn't even exist. So it has to have been changed. Modern presidents have extended their power and their role in government has grown. That's not been an amendment. That's been an interpretation of the Constitution. Federal courts are responsible for that interpretation, and changes in judge and social and political conditions can affect these interpretations. If we were in class, we would have a day where we just talk about Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the Supreme Court justice that just died, and why the president is trying to push a nominee through quickly before the election. But do know that those federal judges, there's federal judges at many levels. When we talk about the judiciary branch, we'll take a look at that. So there's lower courts all the way up to the Supreme Court. Most things never even reach the Supreme Court. But do know that judges are supposed to be fair and impartial, meaning they're not supposed to look at party politics. And they're really supposed to strictly interpret that Constitution for the way it was written and the way it's been interpreted. They look at precedent, at things that have happened over time. The fact that portions of the Constitution are written in language that leaves room for interpretation and adaptation has helped the Constitution survive. If the Constitution was written where there was no room for interpretation, it would have been dissolved a long time ago, because as a nation, we know that we need to make those changes. Okay, so this is something that's from your book. I'm going to try and bring it up, but I know how that worked yesterday. If it doesn't come up, oh, it is. Okay, so one of the ways the Constitution can be amended is changes by amending the document itself. So there's two steps: ratifying the amendment, or proposing the amendment, and then ratifying it. In a reflection of a federal system of government, and federalism we're going to talk about tomorrow, that's where the national government has power and state governments have power. Amendments are proposed at the national level and ratified at the state level. So this is just showing kind of the process that is taken. So the 18th and 21st Amendment were about the same thing. In 1933, the 21st Amendment became law when a state ratifying convention in Utah became the 36th vote to repeal the 18th Amendment prohibiting the sale of alcohol. What that is saying is that the 18th Amendment, I don't know if you guys know this, started prohibition, made it illegal for you to have alcohol in America. And it was a miserable failure because people weren't going to stop drinking, so they just got it illegally. In 1933, we realized as a nation what a failure that was, and part of it was that jobs that were being lost because of it, the taxes that weren't being taxed on alcohol sales, and so we repealed that amendment and made it legal to drink again. The 26th Amendment was the amendment that lowered the voting age to 18. And you can see that was passed in 1971. If you guys remember U.S. history, the Vietnam War was going on during the late 60s and early 70s. And so there was a big push for 18-year-olds to be able to vote. The last amendment that was proposed that did not pass was the Equal Rights Amendment. And that was supposed to give equal rights to men and to women, not differentiating between the two. There were some problems with it, and some women were actually against it because it gave men the same rights as women then. So it's a two-way street. If you're going to pass an Equal Rights Amendment, and some people were uncomfortable with like men having the ability to be in the birthing room when that used to not be a thing. With men doing things that typically were reserved for women. So even though it had a lot of support, and even though the message behind it that all women should be equal was important, the actual amendment as it was written never got through. So it never made it through. It never made it through Congress. Okay, so that's just a little bit about. And if you want to look at that graphic, it kind of gives you a nice idea of how things get passed, how amendments get passed. All right, and you must all suffer through this. I'm going to play a song. It goes through all 27 amendments. It's 2 minutes long, so just hang in there. But it's actually pretty good, and it actually tells the story of the amendments pretty well.
Number 23, out of Washington, D.C. 24, made a full type of reality. 25 tells what to do. Hope the presidential life will just be voting to. Oh, yeah, alright. One more amendment, number 27, Louis 24. It tells the Congress not to try to read the page. If they do, they fool. And if you start again, that's how the amendment. Put our
Okay. Oh, 8. Go away. There we go. All right. So now, when I ask you what the amendments are and you try to remember the 27 amendments, that actually went through them very simple terms very quickly. Your book has all the amendments in it. And then I have links here to the Bill of Rights and the full 27 amendments to the Constitution. So I'm going to bring up the Bill of Rights first, just so you can see it. We're going to talk about some of them, not all of them. The Bill of Rights are the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. This is how they were actually written. So the language might be a little bit difficult to understand, but it's there. So Amendment 1, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right to peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances. Basically, that says we have the freedom to speak, to have a free press, to assemble, and to choose our own religion without worry of the government stepping in. Like I said, I'm not going to read through all those. If you want to read through them, they're there. I'll click here, the 27 amendments to the Constitution. This slide or this website goes through the 27 amendments, and it also explains what those amendments actually say in plain English in modern day. So the First Amendment lays out 5 basic freedoms: freedom of religion, speech, press, assembly, and the freedom to petition the government. The second one says we have the right to have a well-maintained militia and protect ourselves, basically. So it supports our rights to own firearms, and so forth and so on. The third one prohibits forcing citizens to provide lodging for soldiers. During the Revolutionary War, and part of this is in the Constitution, is that Britain said, hey, if we have soldiers, they can take your house and they can live there, and you have to provide food and clothing and shelter for them while they're living there. And obviously that was something we didn't want to happen again. This also happened in France during World War II quite significantly. The Nazis came in and just took homes. But their constitution wouldn't have allowed it. It was just the Nazis came in and took over. So there's a lot of things in here that search and seizure, I'm sure you've heard of that. You have to have a warrant to search somebody's house. That's something important for you to know. If you ever get pulled over by a cop, unless there's imminent danger, they can't just search your car. They can if they smell like alcohol on you or something like that, but they can't just bust into your house without a warrant. Otherwise, it won't stand up in court, and they can't arrest you for anything that happens in the house. So, once again, those are things that feel free to take a look at. They're all there, and I think they're all important. And they'll come up in this class. One of the amendments talks about how do we elect a president, or not how do we elect. What happens if a president dies? Who should be next, and who should be next, and so forth. If we were in class face to face, we would watch a show called Designated Survivor, and basically, there's always one person when the president and vice president and some of the heads of the departments get together that would be left out or would go to a safe place just in case something would happen to the whole group. So if we were face to face, we would spend a little bit more time on them. And for your assignment, I don't want everybody to pick the First and Second Amendment because we all know what those are. Just take a look at the amendments. You don't have to read them all, but just look at the names of them and see if one of them is really personal to you and is important to you. Okay. The 27th Amendment. Oops, sorry. The 27th Amendment was the most recent amendment, and it's kind of cool because it was actually proposed in 1789. A college student saw it, thought it would be a good amendment to have, and actually helped bring the process back to the forefront, and it was eventually passed. So you can read this graphic, but the law or the amendment was proposed is that Congress can't raise their own salaries. So basically the amendment says that while Congress is in session, they can't raise their own salaries. The salary raise won't go into effect until after the next election. And that's pretty important because otherwise our congressman could give themselves $1 million raise and there's really nothing we could do to stop them. So this amendment says that can't happen until the next election. And that's just to keep our congresspeople honest and to ensure that they're not giving themselves pay raises frivolously and that the pay raises only happen, they could be actually not congressman or senator anymore after the raises go into effect. Okay. So it was passed. You can see this last line here. The 27th Amendment to the Constitution was ratified by Michigan, the necessary 38th state, in May 1992, more than 203 years after it had been proposed. So I just think that's kind of cool. Okay, do you guys have any questions? I'm going to get out of this presentation view. So does anyone have any questions today? Okay, I did have a question on, I'm going to look at something once. Okay, I'm going to show you guys, let me bring it up here. I have like 100 tab opens. I'm going to go back to my screen share. I'm just going to show you in Schoology because I had a couple questions about the summative, just to make sure you know where it is. So when you bring up our class in Schoology, it's right here. It's the second thing under the daily Google Meet. So the summative is there. And there's two links. There's the summative itself. And then there's a template that goes with it. So let me just go through this with you guys a little bit. I didn't go through it yesterday in detail. And then, like I said, Monday and Tuesday, plan on work days for class. I'm going to be here. I'm going to Go Guardian, you guys. Do you remember Go Guardian? Anyone? Anyone there? So Go Guardian lets me see your screen, even though you're at home. And so on Monday and Tuesday, or until you're done with the assignment, I'm going to be having Go Guardian up and making sure that if you're with me, you're working on the assignment. And that's also so that I can be here if you have questions. So what we're asking you to do is that first long sheet that you guys had where you list the democratic principles were listed, and you're supposed to give a definition and give an example. I'm going to have you guys, you need to choose 3 of those principles that you feel are very important. You can read through these. You're going to give America a grade. So that grade is going to be an A, B, C, D, or F. And then you're going to assign the grade as it says here, justify why you gave it, explain how the American government currently does or does not protect and promote that principle, and you're going to use evidence from an artifact to support that. Your artifact is here in the next column, So that's where you're going to need to find an article, a video, podcast, something that explains that democratic principle in practice. And then you're going to go back here and, like in your own words, explain how that artifact relates. These need to be in paragraph form or on a slideshow or something like that. The artifacts can be any of these things or any other place that you might find a representation of that principle. And then the last thing is you give it a grade with a very, very short summary. When you're done, you're going to want to look at the rubric and give yourself a grade. That's going to help you understand the kind of grade that you're going to earn on the summative. And then the last page is just for me. I'm going to give you a grade too and say, and then when you're done with the summative, if it's not great or not perfect, you're going to have some time that you can, and that won't be in class, but on your own if you want to do any changes, fixes, whatever to make it better. I'm just going to show you here. I have a sample template, and that is also here, the summative template. This is a blank template, kind of blank, where once again it gives you like some examples and then places to write. And if you want to use this and you write your paragraph here and you fill everything in here, that's okay. Just know that I'm expecting this is to be a paragraph. It's not just to be a few lines. It needs to answer all the questions. And then finally, you're going to do a summary for each principle. Once again, those need to be in paragraph form. So I'm just showing that to you so that you have some time to take a look at it, some time to start thinking about it, and it's going to be due next Friday. Okay, that's all I've got for you guys. Do you guys have questions? I'm just taking attendance real quick here. Anybody have questions? You guys still out there? Somebody pop or stop muting yourself so I know.
I'm good.
You're good? Okay. Okay, so if you don't have any questions, I'll see you tomorrow. I did record this right today, so if you missed something and want to go back, you'll be able to see the video over again. I'll have that in. I'll get that in Schoology for today's day. Yesterday I screwed up, but today I think I did it right. So, okay. Those of you that have me third hour for check-in, if you want to stay on now, then you won't have to check in third hour or fourth hour if you need anything. Otherwise, I'll still open that up third and fourth hour if people have questions. So, Lexi, Jess, not Cheyenne, Amy, did you need anything for those hours?
No, I'm good.
Amy, you're good? Okay. Lexi, do you need any help with your online class? No? Jessica, do you need any help with your online stuff?
No, I think I'm good. For third hour, I'm gonna do the Read 180 test.
Yeah, Mr. Brown said that he got you set up, so great. That sounds great.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, if you guys need anything, always, send me an email and we'll set up a time to meet to chat.
Okay.
Okay. Bye, guys. Bye.
Bye, Miss Davis.
Bye, Rachel. Bye, Amy.
Hey, Miss Davis.
Yeah, what's up, Rachel?
So I have an appointment on Monday
Okay.
at 10, so I will not be in class.
Not a problem. Make sure you have your mom call you in. And then it just goes on as an excused out for appointment, just like any other time.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Okay. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.
I'm sorry, I was cleaning.
That's okay. Do you have any questions or need anything else, kiddo?
No, I was trying to listen.
Okay. And I did record it, so I will get that up on Schoology, like the YouTube link, in probably within the half an hour. So if you missed anything, feel free to go back.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Cheyenne.
No problem.
All right, Lexi, I'm going to log off unless you need something. All right, we'll talk to you soon.